Welcome to the Fifth Trooper Podcast.
Are we ready?
I am ready.
Let's do this in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome back. No. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello. 5, 4, 3, 2.
Hello.
Hello.
The arsonist has oddly shaped feet.
5, 4, 3, 2. The Human Torch was denied a bank loan. How now, brown cow?
A La Jolla man clings to life as he is mauled by wild dogs in an abandoned pool.
Stick 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome back to the Fifth Trooper Podcast. My name is Jay Shalansky, and joining me, as always, is Evan Bulris.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going good, Evan. It's
Slight
going
pause.
good. So we're going to talk about, you guessed it, Legion on this Legion podcast. All Legion, all the time.
Brought to you by Raid Shadow Legends, a new MMORPG app for your phone that you can play games on when you're not looking. Just kidding.
Hey, do you like lots of advertisements?
You
do you
got
like
it.
things interrupting you? This is the
Perfect.
best game.
Perfect.
Well, hey, we're back. It's been a week
Yes, sir.
since our last episode, and here we are again. A couple things real quick this week. We're going to have on War Corgi a little bit later, which is going to be great. Love War Corgi.
Super cool guy.
I know he's ramping back up to get back into his battle reps, which will be great because we've sorely been missing those. Also, don't forget to go support us on our Patreon. We will be sending out in the next few weeks. We're going to be sending out our Patreon level quarter rewards or whatever for being a Patreon supporter, and we have 2 different levels that get stuff in the mail, and so both of those levels will be getting stuff in the next couple weeks.
Awesome.
So that's exciting. We also have our new mats. We're still pre-ordering those, so jump on the gravy train. It's going to happen. We've had tons of pre-orders, so it's going to be awesome. So get on over to thefifthtrooper.com and check out them mats. Them sweet mats.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. Actually, Krabak.
Who?
Kravik?
What is it with you and names, man?
Kravak just sounded cooler. I'm sorry. Krabak had posted that he was looking for a Naboo mat, and I put ours up there, and then I saw everyone came out of the woodwork with these other cool mats, and I'm only disappointed because I'd been looking for a mat like that for a long time, and I was looking through them all. I'm like, oh, these are all pretty good. Gosh darn it! So.
But how were they compared to ours, Evan?
So good. A few of them that were posted had just roads everywhere, so you put houses over it to kind of hide, so you don't have to do the same. You don't have to do it on ours. It looks like there's a road, right? So you can put them down. I know I'm blowing it right now.
Oh, Evan.
I think a lot of them were good. They look good.
This is the last night of free food you're ever getting.
Oh
in your
no,
life.
my taco pinwheel. It's all falling apart.
Yeah, it is, Evan. You've had a free ride coming in, and now it's over. You can't even talk up our mats.
Yeah.
I'm talking about our mats, and then you get on here and talk about other people's mats and how good they are. What are you, nuts?
I'm just trying to be open-minded about the whole thing.
Have you lost your little raccoon mind?
Oh gosh, no, Mr. J. Don't put me out by the trash cans again.
Speaking of raccoon minds, what'd you eat today, Evan? Why don't you go ahead and tell the podcast listeners, tell us what you had today.
Okay, let's see. So I started with a nice coffee. I thought that was pretty fancy. Then I had 3 Oreos I found on my desk from something I'd maybe eaten. Started a pack of Oreos a while ago. Tuna can with some crackers.
Go on.
2 bags of chips. Or two snack bags. They're snack size.
Yeah.
I'm not an animal, all right? Ham sandwich. What else did I have? A peach, Swiss roll. It's just a typical crazy Tuesday for me.
Well, hot dang.
It's all good. You find food, eat it. When I was at my overnight job...
You find food and you eat it, yes.
Yeah. Look, when I was at the problem is, I used to never be like this dumpster. I'm just like, food, let's go. Until I worked at my overnight... I was a system admin, and the only thing that'd be open was this gas station, on the way home. So I'd grab like the gas station pizza, the gas station burgers, and they're like a dollar for 2 slices of pizza. You know, it was like real. It was like below Tony's pizza quality, right? But I just got so used to eating that garbage because I was broke, so that was just my option, and it was at least warm, so you'd have something like a warm meal.
Yeah.
That I did just broke all like standards I have for eating.
Yeah, Evan was looking at Rachel's list of meals she plans. She has a week plan. She goes, "You guys eat real good here in the Shalansky household. Must be nice."
Maybe I'll swing by Thursday for something I need.
Yeah.
It's a quesadilla night.
We decided that for punishment, what we're going to do is just make these elaborate meals and then just throw them out in front of them. Be like, that's what you get.
I have to be looking through the window, though, with like my hands on. I'm like,
Yeah.
no. Why?
And then pour something really terrible over it so you can't even get it out of the trash can.
Oh, I'm going to have to pick around the car
Soap.
oil. Soap.
Here you go, buddy. Enjoy.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so I guess let's kick it into Legion news.
Yeah.
News from the Week in Legion.
All right, so in the news for Legion this week, Organized Play, they announced their Prime Championships, which are basically RPQs.
RPQs are that word is done after this.
Right.
So it's gonna be Prime Championships.
So they're the Prime Championships now, and basically they're for those of you that are confused, RPQs were started under a different OP structure and management, and this is a new OP management, and so now they're calling it Prime Championships. Similar to RPQs, and these are the ones that'll lead you into Worlds in March at Adepticon. So you can go up to Fantasy Flight Games, check them out. We could probably go through the first few here.
Yeah, we kind of fell off. We were calling out locations.
I think we called them all out. What's the problem?
Well, the thing is, right, like so the problem with doing a Legion podcast lately is there hasn't been a whole lot of Legion new stuff. So, maybe we could make it a segment where we do we keep this tab saved and we kind of call out the next events, at least so you know where a couple RPQs are coming.
So why don't we go through January? Well, let's go through December.
Because I noticed this one's missing a few. I think these are considered all new primes, not necessarily some of the old RPQs.
Right. These are the primes, which I think we called out a lot of the RPQs, but
yeah.
Okay. So November 16th at Dreamers Vault Games in Champlin, Minnesota. November 16th at Blackfire Games in Pleasant Grove, Utah. November 16th, All About Games, Boise, Idaho. November 23rd, Great Escapes Games, Sacramento, California. December 7th, Gameology in Upland, California. December 14th, Battleground Games Center in Ravenna, Ohio. December 14th at Dragon's Lair Comics and Fantasy in Houston, Texas. December 14th at Ease Games, San Diego, California. December 21st, Game Castle in Sacramento, California. January 4th, Tower of Games, Virginia Beach, Virginia. January 4th, Serenity Games in Seminole, Florida. January 4th, Games U at Gilbert, Arizona. January 11th, Just Games in Rochester, New York.
Okay.
January 11th, Snake Eye Games at Altoona, Pennsylvania. And then we'll do one more, January 11th, Game Storm Gaming in Lamont, Illinois.
I think what we'll do is we have some, if you go below that, they've got a couple European
International?
ones. Yep.
All right, so international, we have a to be determined at Sirens Games in Austria. We have a November 30th, Flint Hobbies and Games in Kitchener, Ontario, Canada. December 7th, 2019, the Century Box in Calgary, Alberta. We have January 18th, 2020 at Cicada and Luganquil, I think.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Kinda. All right, and then
if you scroll down there, it cycles back to this year again.
All right.
See?
October 12th, 2019, Goblin Trader Norte in Madrid, Spain. October 26th, Goblin Trader in Barcelona, Spain. November 17th, 2019, Empire Games. Is that Sevilla, Spain? November 30th, and Dravit Store, Barcelona, Spain. And December 30th, Goblin Trader, Valencia, Spain. And January 18th at Ludus Belli, Mostoles, Madrid. That's Madrid, Spain.
You did pretty good.
Thanks.
Not gonna lie, that was pretty good. No like warm up, going right into it.
Dankeschön. So, speaking of German, I wanna take this. That was my chair, everybody.
Okay.
I want to take this few minutes, 1 to 3 seconds to 3 to 5 minutes, one of those time frames, and thank you for making us the 63rd most popular gaming podcast in Germany.
Oh, cool.
Dankeschön. We love you, Germany. We love you this much. And we're on radio, so you have no idea how much, but it's this much. At least this much.
It's funny because I work for a German paper company as their IT guy, and I've been trying to learn German on Duolingo, like the language app.
Oh, yeah.
Because when something goes wrong, they speak in German,
Oh.
and then they come back in English when I'm on a conference call and be like, "Evan, can you
Nine!
reset?" Yeah,
Nine!
no,
Nine!
It's can you reset the router? And I'm like,
Das
"Yeah."
ist nicht gut.
And so I go, "Okay," and then
Du bist ein Dummkopf.
I have no idea what they're not saying any of that. I have no idea what they're saying.
Oder
but it
ein
goes back-
Scheißkopf.
They don't yell. They're nice. Everyone says German's this angry language, but they're always very kind to me when I'm on the phone with them.
It is angry-ish. I'm just kidding. It's not angry. They're very literal in their words.
I've noticed when I've been doing the app, I've noticed that it's very like, there's a lot of words that are similarly spelt that mean the same thing. So it's like when I'm reading a sentence, I can't speak it yet, but I can pick out words and like I can kind of form a sentence.
Well, here's a fun thing. There's like at least 12 different ways to say the, depending on what you're talking about.
Sure is. And so the app doesn't tell me that. So it's like, hey, dummy, you didn't realize this said the. And I'm like, it's spelled different every time.
Yeah.
And there's like a male and a female version. I'm like, I don't get it.
It's great. I love Germany.
So yeah, cool.
So,
All right.
Dankeschön,
Thanks.
Deutschland. Yeah. Ich liebe dich.
We're doing it wrong.
So we have our, what do we want to call this segment? Top 5 things we goofed.
Oh, I left my paper downstairs. All right, I'll just have to make it up. So, okay, so the thing was, I messaged Evan, and I was thinking of, like, not just goofed, but, like, funny things. Like, almost that, maybe not funny, but maybe, like, you were just like, dang. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not like, you weren't so upset, but it was just, like, surprising in the moment.
Sure.
So I'll give you my number 5. So 1 being kind of the worst, funny-ish, and 5 being not as funny. So number 5 comes in when I played Luke Cook for the first time. That's our world champion, quote-unquote, world champion, because worlds weren't really involved in that one. But world champion, I'm putting up my quotes, Luke Cook. And the first time I played him, he gave me a lesson on how snowtroopers are used. Yeah. And he did the peekaboo, where he just moved out shot and then moved back into line of sight blocking. And I was just like, whoa. I'd never seen anything like that before. And it was shocking. And he ended up deleting a couple units with that move.
Good. Let's see. My number 5 would be when we were playing at Millennium Games one time. So a lot of these are going to be against Jay, because a lot of my games are against Jay. Just how it happens. You had one-shot Boba. I was bringing a weird, it was like Boba, Veers, Vader. I don't know, something bad that I thought was good. You one-shot Boba, and then you... with your bikes, that was it. So Boba just rolled 5 blanks dead.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, you saw the life drain from my eyes. Because I'm like, well, he'll at least be able to take 1 hit. And then I rolled 3 surges with Veers to one-shot one of your bikes groups. Like, well, you had 2 bikes, but I got 1. And I'm like, what's going on? I was just like, nothing makes sense anymore. So dice variants were real bad in that. That's my particular number 5, just that one game.
All right. My number 4 is... PAX Unplugged last year. I took a SKU list. I took a double airspeeder, and Dash from Scoundrels was there. And I remember that one of the games I played a turn 1. I had Han and Z6s and 2 airspeeders, and I think I played one where I uplinked the speeders on turn 1. And, like, during the match, Mike was just like, what are you doing? Like, and so that's kind of our, like, inside joke from now on, is every time he sees somebody with uplinks, he's like, just don't uplink them on turn 1 like Jay.
Oh, man, you became a poster child. My number 4 would be when we very first started playing Legion. We just built all our models, and this was like the first week it came out. I was rolling white defense dice for Stormtroopers, not knowing the other guy read his cards. He's playing Rebels, and he was rolling white defense die. I'm like, oh, they're just white defense die. So I was losing. I'm like, these Stormtroopers are terrible. White defense die and white attack decks. I couldn't read. I guess I don't know. And then when finally someone said, hey, they're red, and I rolled like all blank blocks. I mean, I'm like, this is great. What have I been doing this whole time, man? I'm a dummy. So we got through that. Also, that same game, a airspeeder went right from like 0 to 100 right into my list, and put 6 wounds on Vader, like before I got to go. And I'm like, oh, yeah. So I like, so whoa. For whatever reason, I rolled red defense dice with him. I don't know what I was doing, but so I used to think airspeeders were just like this broken unit, like too good. Whoops.
Let's see. My number 3. Oh, number 3 it's like my first time playing Palpatine. And I forgot what I was running. It was like a 12 activation Palp list. Like right when Palp came out, it had some EWAB, Snowtroopers, IRG, DLT Stormtroopers. Decent list. 10, 11 activations. And I was playing someone on TTS, and I got so bummed out from loot that I lost.
Yeah.
That I completely forgot to activate Palpatine, and it would have won me the game.
Oh no.
And I was just like so down. I'm like, I guess you won then.
Yeah.
And then just like that, and then afterwards I was like, oh, I never activated Palpatine.
Oh, that's a big oof.
Yeah.
Let's see. My number 3 would be, we were at the RPQ, and I saw you'd put your, I think this goes into one of yours.
Yeah.
I saw your Veers and Krennic out in the open. Like you're like in the circle fort thing. And so I pushed my ATST right up front of your entire list, just so I could kill both of them, only to have it get machine gunned down by DLTs like 2 turns after. I'm like, DLTs won't be that bad. And it was just like double crits.
Death Troopers.
Death Troopers and just Stormtroopers. Double crits or crits. I'm like, why are there so many? Why is 8 coming up so many in here die? I don't understand. So it was underestimating DLTs and killing a vehicle.
So actually, that is my number 2. So we were at this RPQ, and I thought I had hidden everything okay, but the Eye of Sauron came, and the ATST just like chicken walked up and was like, "Oh hey, there's Veers and Krennic. Yep, they're both dead." And you end up wiping out both my commanders like by turn 2. I ended up beating you, but gosh, that was disheartening. I was like, oh no.
Yeah, I was hoping the shock and awe would like get in your head and then win.
Yeah.
And then like Death Troopers got in this little house in the thing where it was just, I couldn't get them out.
Yeah, and I had, so for people at home,
miserable.
I had 2 Death Troopers in that list, 2 snipers.
And they were like all in that house. I'm just like, wow, this is miserable. I can't get them out.
Right, and so they could see out because there's windows and doors, but the ATST couldn't see in, and they're just like, on fire on that man.
Yeah, shooting at its legs the whole time. Like, wow, this is dumb. I was getting like really disheartened. Like, what is happening? My number 2 would be actually Nova this past year. I brought in a Luke Sabine list that I had played like once, and I'd never really played Luke before, and I moved him into melee with a unit that had not gone yet, and the whole unit just withdrew, and then Luke died in a volley of fire.
Yep.
Right afterwards. To be fair, he just wasn't rolling any blocks like to begin with, but I made a really dumb move, and I was like, "Yep, this is." Because then you started like the music like all around me are familiar. As I'm like pulling him off the thing, and then everything else just starts falling apart for me. I'm like, I threw this game away, right? Like I really just did a big dumbed it up.
Oh man! All right, so my number 1 was at LVO last year, and I was in this tight match, my first match, and actually I was up against someone who ended up going top 6, or he went 12. He was 6 going in the top 12, and ended up losing in the top 12. But and hard battle. He's playing a Han Luke list, and I was playing that 12 activation Veers list, and hard battle. Okay, so we're playing moisture evaporators. Ty goes to blue, right? So now we're going for points. He pulls his Han up because he's going to try to clean up my moisture evaporator. I end up blocking him out with stormtroopers. he gets up there. All I have to do is I put everything into Han, right? He has one wound left, and right as I'm about to roll Veers, dice down. That's time and game. And he was going to let me roll, but I wouldn't, right? Because they said dice down, so it didn't count. And I had 2 aims on Veers, so I literally could have most likely killed him with Pierce 1.
Yeah.
And so the funny part was, out of all that, so that sounds bad enough, right? What I didn't notice was right in the middle of my 12 activations was one lone rebel trooper just sitting there. And if I had just killed him, I would have won on points.
Oh, yikes. That's a big oof. Let's see, my number 1, I've flown an airspeeder off the table. I think that had to be my best one.
Oh, I love it.
Because I was going in for an attack, and I didn't. This is early, because after I got beat by the airspeeder, I'm like, I'm going to use an airspeeder. This thing's stupid good.
Yeah.
And I didn't know you could, like, pivot. So I thought you had to do, like, a turn. Right, you just hard turn, like X-Wing. Right, I'm thinking X-Wing, you can't just stop and turn your guy as one of your like, movements. So I was playing it X-Wing style, and I got to an edge where I was trying to make a move, and I did a hard turn, and then, right off, and it hadn't taken damage yet, and it was doing some, like, okay work. Oh. And I picked it up, and I just, like, you saw, like, the guy saw the blood drain from my face. I didn't, like, fight him. It's like, yep, okay. I sat down in the chair. I'm like, it was activate wedge, I guess. Do a spin.
Womp womp.
Womp womp.
But so I thought it'd be fun to do that. There's a lot of you out there that are listening that are new to the game, and I thought it'd be fun to hear all our mess ups, especially.
Man, I could write a book.
And we've always done this segment. I think from the on and off from the beginning of the podcast that we're doing it wrong, where we talk about stuff that we messed up. But I just thought it'd be fun to go back in time and talk about all the crazy stuff we thought. Maybe not even just mess ups, but just insanity that happens right during this game. Yeah, so the other thing I wanted to talk about was Invader League started. I'm actually playing this season. I'm in U.S. Group 5. So I had my first game today. I lost, unfortunately. But dang, it was such a tough game. So he was running, it was actually the captain from the 82nd Legion podcast. And I guess he doesn't go by his name.
Okay.
He just goes by the captain on the podcast. But anyway, so I played him. He was playing Rebels, Triple Tons, HQ Uplink, Tenacity. He had Han. He had Leia with Improvised Orders. He had 2 Z6 squads. He had 1 Z6 with a med droid, a naked squad, and then a naked med droid squad, I think. And we were playing Intercept the Transmissions, Long March, and Rapid Reinforcements.
Oh, yikes.
I was playing Vader, Veers, 2 shore troopers with the heavy, the 21B, 2 stormtroopers, DLT-19s, snow trooper with recon intel, impact grenades, flame trooper, 2 of the bombs, the saboteurs, and then I was playing the mortar. With a comms relay, and it was the list was going okay. It was my first time playing the list, my first time playing with Vader's new cards from his operative list.
Yep.
And it was slow at first, and I thought I had him. So around turn 3, I kind of had set up these fire lanes, and I placed Vader where Vader wasn't getting shot. I was being maybe not as aggressive as I should have been with Vader, but I was holding him back because I knew the taunts were coming. And, I laid in so many hits into this guy, and whites were just, like, he was just blocking, like, everything. So, like, I would get, like, 7 hits into the tons.
Yeah.
He ended up getting 5 blocks.
Yikes.
And then, like, I'm white dice.
Yeah. 5 ups, baby. Sometimes.
And I was like, dude, are you, like, what is going on right now? And then he would, like, return fire, and I would, like, a couple times in a row, he hit my snow troopers with 4. And I rolled 4 red dice, got 1 block. 3 died. Same on my shore troopers. One of my set of shore troopers, 4 hits in, 1 block, 3 die.
Oh, gosh.
And I'm just like, what is happening right now? But so it was a good game. It went to all 6 rounds. We didn't go by time. It was exhausting. It went for a long time, and he ended up taking it. With 2 victory points, I think. And so, but then, it was weird because towards the end, it was kind of like there was some weird stuff going on as far as like placement of where stuff was, and I'm like trying to figure it all out. But like I was, he had to go. We had like a hard dice down at 3, and he had to go, and like I'm like, oh, like I want to, you know what I mean? And it got confusing towards the end. But he ended up taking a great game. He did a good job. I ended up making 2 of his tawns panic. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
2 of his tawns, I made them panic with suppression. I killed an entire unit of them. I got one down to 1 with 3 wounds, and then the other one, I had 5 wounds on it. So, like, I felt like I did okay. There was just some stuff I was missing, and so I need to go back, and I'm going to keep playing this list. I think I'm just going to retool a little bit, because I really like the list.
Oh, sure.
And so I'm going to retool a little bit and come back at it. It was a grueling game. Took long time. I don't know that I'll do another game like that. So in Invader League, you can have a gentleman's agreement before you start the game of whether or not to go by the time clock, which is 3 hours. And we decided not to, and I think the game went like 4 hours or some crazy stuff. And I was just like, okay.
So I don't like playing on TTS because it can be very finicky at times. Things I do like about TTS: 1, range bands. Boom, hit it. Got it. No fiddling. No like weird like it knocked a little bit. It's in range or not. You just it's in or it's not. Right, it gets you. I like all the models. Whoever the gentleman who does the modeling for that, man, pitch perfect. All the cards are in there. It's great. Tabletop. What I forget the name of the actual software. Tabletop simulator. That's it. Jeez. Wow, that took 4 or 5 times, guys. Yikes. Tabletop. It's a great software. I just like from my computer, or whatever, it just like stutters and like gets jumpy sometimes. So I'd always rather play on the table. But to be fair, I say all that, but I haven't played a game of Legion in a month or 2 because I haven't found anyone to play.
And
the table.
I think we said this last episode. Usually we play here, but like my house is in disarray.
Yeah. Oh God.
Whoa.
And then also I like to I'll play Friday nights, but we got an X-wing thing coming up, so I want to get reps in with lists. So it's real crazy. So.
Some intense rain, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my goodness. Anyways, I think we got to play. I got to get more on the table reps. It's about the time that I need to start looking at what I'm taking to Worlds, and I need to just practice.
Yep. I mean, when is Worlds?
March.
Okay, you got a while. I was gonna say because I'm in holding pattern to clones, so I'm kind of just, you can only make so many clone lists with what they've shown so far. So if there's a list, I've made it and looked at it and been like, oh, I don't know if this is gonna be. It's Obi-Wan, 4 or 5 clones, a couple bikes, right? That's the list. But those add-on packs for every faction are gonna be awesome. I think those are really what breathe some life into the game. So when you see someone sit and all the points changes, so it's really exciting to list build. I think it'll be really exciting once all that stuff finally drops. So we actually have like. Some crazy new list building options, right? Like I was building rebels with the grenade launcher lately, because it's 2 red. Like sometimes you just stand and shoot a lot, so ready shoot. Like maybe it'll work out. I don't know. Plus the ion for droids or vehicles. Looking at the new tanks and stuff, those are pretty legit. ATST got cheaper. Land speeder's still real good. Maybe it's time to think about always having ion in your army.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of options out there. Well, and like, with this list, I brought the snowtroopers back with impact grenades because it was like, I don't know, I may face some like at least ATRTs, if not ATST or the tank, right? Like those are all viable. So it's like, oof, I need some impact. It doesn't help me against the airspeeder anymore, but everything else it helps. So I think the likelihood of me facing some ATRTs, rotary ATRTs, is probably really good.
Like 75 points or something. Yeah. It's like so cheap.
Yeah, and so so I think impact and ion is probably good. I would say though, like ion's not as great against the ATST as you like in your brain you think it's going to be. you want impact against something like that. The ion worries me a little bit.
I mean,
ion will be good for the droids.
Most ion weapons have impact. They have to, because they have to be able to hit a vehicle. So I know with the one time ever I brought one of our locals, Nathan. He brings an ATST around, and I unlocked it. I did a first with my Pathfinders with Bistan.
Yeah.
And I just got one hit through each time. So, he lost 2 actions on it, because it was, by the time you got to use it, it was done. I'm like, cool. But I'm also like, man, that's a really mean game mechanic. Like, to just say, like, sorry, you don't get to use this.
Right.
Like, yikes. So I was like, finally, like, yeah, I've actually got to ion something, but also thinking, I hope ion doesn't get too good, because that's a real feel-bad mechanic. Like, when you're like, hey, this 300-point thing I got, I'm being super punished for bringing, yikes, right?
Yeah, it's interesting, and I think, I don't know. I think there's a lot more options out there now, and this was my real first game with everything, with the points change, with the erratas, with everything out there. And so it felt good to have Vader again. And those operative cards for Vader are so good. And I wasn't even using all of them, and I got chastised by a few people for not using all of them. And so, and I get what they were saying. I was trying to go for something else. It didn't work.
Yeah.
But it was my first trial with that, and but now I'm feeling a little bit better. I can see what the list can and can't do. And I felt good, because Tauntauns are kind of the new hotness right now, and I held my own against them, and I felt pretty amazing about that. So it's good to see, and I just got to keep tooling with it. But I'm, and it's 10 activations, which is good.
That's fine. Yeah.
But I've been playing with a bunch of different ideas. Going back to like my 12 activation. Or I even have I think I have a Krennic 13 activation list right now that I've been looking at. But it's just different stuff I got to test out. But for any of you that are like going to a tournament or going to something that you seriously want to take serious and you want to win, we've said this in earlier podcasts, but I'll repeat it just because it's good. Repetition with your list. Like, you got to lock down a list that if it can at least hold its own and it looks good on paper, then the next hurdle, I should say, is you. You're the next hurdle. So you need to understand that list. You need to get reps in against all kinds of other lists. You need to do this, right? And I know it's not easy to play on TTS as far as finding the time, finding the people, but it's really the best solution to get as many games as you want. It's a little clunky to play on there, and it can be tiresome at times, but like, if you're not able to get to a store, or maybe there's only 2 local guys that play and you've already played each of them 100 times, branch out, play on TTS. You want to get 20 reps on that list that you're playing for any major tournament is my...
I would say at least 10. 10's usually my go-to for something before I...
Yeah, I say 20, 10, and here's why. Yes, 10, I would agree. I think you're okay at 10. I think you're great at 20.
I suppose so, yeah.
Because I would say that was my 12 activation Veers list. It wasn't anything special. But I had so many reps with that list. I just knew it backwards and forwards. I knew what it could do. I knew what would happen if Luke came after. I knew what to do if this came after it, if Wookiees were on the table. Like, I had an answer for everything.
It's going to be good just to see more units now, too.
Yeah.
Right? Now that you say that, because you're like Luke and Vader. Like, well, Vader didn't even get played that much. But it was like right. Luke and Sabine. And I'm like,
well,
cool.
Yeah, now
it's Grievous and Obi, like, and then Rex and...
right, and this is the first time I played against Tauntauns.
Dooku, yeah. Oh, really? Yeah, they're mean guys, man. They are not nice.
Yeah, I get it, but they are. But like, it was good to know that in principle, because people had asked us on our Facebook and stuff, like, what's the answer to Tauntauns? Like, how do I? And the answer is suppression.
Focus fire.
Just shoot them.
Yeah.
I was locking up. So I was using the suppressive from the mortar. I was using these different suppressive guns and stuff, and it's just like, fire on them, get all the suppression on them, because at 4, if they have 4 suppression on them, they're gonna panic.
Yep.
If they have 2 or more on them, they're gonna have 1 action, so they're not gonna be able to run. The dodges were rough, but they weren't as rough as I thought they were going to be.
You're not really looking for damage; you're looking for suppression at that point. So
yes, right. My whole goal was, I did end up killing them. I almost killed all of them, but like the whole goal was suppress them. And like one, I made Ron almost right off the table, and then I ended up shooting him with Veers and killing him. And then the other two, I made them run. They weren't even really in the battle the rest of the game. And so, it's just suppression on the Tons. That's the answer to them. Just shoot them.
Yeah, it's rough because there's rumblings, people saying they're a little too good. But the problem is we just don't have the dewback to give comparison to, right?
Yeah, well, we don't have,
because everything usually comes out in pairs. Because it's right now it's like only one side having snipers. Before the all errata, but
yeah,
one side has something that the other doesn't really have a comparison to. Now, not everything has to be one for one, but it's still a creature trooper that it plays its own game, right? Like kind of the Tauntauns. So I think once the dewbacks come out, it'll whatever.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, it was very similar to speeder bikes. They're just a little bit more resilient.
Yeah, which is weird, right? Doesn't seem like it should.
Right. But yeah, I mean, it was interesting. The Tons, I mean, they should make you nervous, but I wouldn't necessarily say they're scary.
No, they're like any unit, though, if you let it get too out of hand, right? Like even a Z6 squad that you haven't kind of whittled down will do damage to you if you don't have a, don't pay attention to it or don't care what it does. Or like Chewie, you let Chewie get into melee on a group of nobodies, they're probably gone, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so you just, like anything else, you just gotta watch yourself.
Check yourself before you riggedy wreck yourself.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go talk to War Corgi.
Welcome to the War Room with War Corgi.
Well, I'm here now with Michael from War Corgi YouTube channel. How's it going, man?
Great, Jay. Great to be back on your channel and your podcast.
Yeah, it's good to hear from you. Good to see that you're back home, which is good, and back stateside, which is amazing. So how's that been for you?
It's been phenomenal. Home, St. Louis, Missouri. I don't know if you're keeping track, but my St. Louis Cardinals have won the Central Division. So take that the rest of the Central, and looking forward to some playoffs starting here shortly.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they can carry that through into the playoffs, right? That's always the trick. That's you're feeling high when they take the division, and then you're like, all right, come on, just take this into the playoffs. That's all we need now.
I don't want to, talk about baseball too much. I just will brag on my hometown a little bit more and say that we're the most reasonable fans in the United States. So we won the Central Division. This year has been a success. We don't need anything else. Beat the Cubs, beat the Brewers. What more do you want? I mean,
all right. Yeah. Being a New York fan, we want it all, right? We want
every year. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we're good.
But yeah, so I know you have your YouTube channel, and then you were contributing to paint all the minis for a while. And so what's going on now with your channel? I just saw that your new trailer that just came out this week, which was amazing, and that got me excited for your battle reports. So why don't you kind of fill us in with where you're at and what you're doing?
Thanks. It's about 3 months since I published my last battle report, and I can't wait to get started again. It was kind of bittersweet leaving Germany. I left all my friends there, like Max and Simon, and of course Michael. But I've been busy playing some Star Wars Legion here, waiting for my household goods to arrive and my computer. I've been setting up my studio, but playing Legion every week and making some friends who are excited to come on the channel on this side of the pond. So that's pretty much what I've been up to, and we are ready to start recording this coming Saturday. I'll be having my first game at the house, and everything should be set up for a battle report to come out shortly thereafter.
That's amazing. Yeah, I'm looking forward to you getting back into it because I always loved your battle reports. Especially, I'm sad because Simon's not going to be there, but it'll be okay.
Yeah. You know what? Simon does plan to travel over here for LVO in the future, and spend a week here. So he might not be done with the channel yet. Him and Max, for our German listeners, I hear you're huge in Germany, by the way.
Yeah, we're in the top 100 of gaming podcasts.
That's amazing. But Simon and Max have started their own podcast in German, so if you don't speak German, it's going to be tough to follow along. But they're still plugging away, doing some Legion stuff, and Simon's really excited. He's going to be starting a Republic army as soon as it comes out on the 17th.
Yeah, so let me ask you this question, and I'm sure you're going to share some of this on your battle reports too, but do you plan on switching to one of the newer armies, or are you going to stick with a classic? Where's your head at?
So a lot of people talked about, it gets really expensive to support 2 armies, much less 4. But I have a sponsorship deal for the channel that's in the works and getting ready to finalize that with Tabletop Ready Ventures. So if they come through, which I suspect they will, that's going to give me a little extra income in order to focus on the Clone Wars. Because, I mean, we've all seen the models. They look great. The rules interactions look great. I would think we would be remiss as a YouTube channel if we did not have Clone Wars action. So that's definitely in the works.
Yeah, and so I know we want to get to talking a little bit more about battle reports, but I haven't really gotten to talk to you since the point change and some of the erratas, and how has that been for you, and how have you seen some of that, from your perspective?
I gotta tell you, I took Tauntauns being released really hard. They looked so dominant for a while, but then Fantasy Flight Games and Alex and Luke came back with the point changes, and I think everything is right again with the Force, and I feel pretty good about where this game is at right now. It is still by far my favorite tabletop miniature game. As a matter of fact, my channel used to focus a lot on Warhammer 40K. We are primarily a Star Wars Legion channel from this point on because I just enjoy the gameplay so much, and I think Fantasy Flight and the developers are just doing such a great job of making sure this game is the best it can be. So that's what I think about all that stuff. I'm excited about showing it off on the channel, and it's playing on Fridays. It's been great.
Yeah, and I think everyone's pretty excited about the fact that it's not dying, right? That they're paying attention to it and they're still putting time and effort into it, and it's all good. It's an exciting time for the game.
Yeah, I don't know if you got to listen to the live chat or seeing the highlights from that one yesterday, but I mean, those guys got a 5-year plan. They're like the Soviet Union there. Everything worked out.
Yeah, they really do, and it's interesting, like to think about that. And I think sometimes we as players forget about that. Alex and Luke are playing 2 years ahead or something like that. So they're playing with units that we don't even know about. And so it's interesting to see that, and then it's good to see them come back and be like, hey, you know what, we messed up with the T-47. Here's a points change for you. Because it's hard to, I'm sure, just for us, right? It's hard for us to play with all the units. I'm sure it's hard for them to play with everything and see all these different mechanics and things work out. So it's crazy. It's just great. I'm really excited.
Yeah, it's phenomenal, and I don't want to go on a tangent here. We'll save that for a future episode, maybe.
Yeah.
But one of the things I find most frustrating sometimes about the community is all the this is good and this is bad, period, no shades of gray when it comes to units. Every unit in this game right now is competitive and can be played in a competitive fashion. You might not win the major tournaments with it, but you can go out there and compete with just about every unit in this game.
Yeah. I think I saw one of your comments was the difference between viable and great, right? And just because someone doesn't view something as like a stone cold killer great doesn't mean it's not a viable unit for the table. And I agreed with that 100%.
Yep, and I think this community has shown time and time again the players who put the time and effort into playing units really well figure it out.
Well, yeah, and I've been preaching that. I mean, our whole lifespan of our podcast that, like, I've played a 12 activation nobody list and have done well with it, and it's just about you being good with your list versus picking the right units for the list. It's just about picking a list that feels right to you as a person and then just playing that list consistently.
Yep. And it might not win the world championship. You might need to do a little bit more optimizing than that. But as far as, going to a tournament and competing, maybe not winning every game, but competing, it's certainly possible these days.
Yeah, I would agree. Okay, so our community's growing. We're getting an influx of new players. And with that, I think, you brought this up, but I've seen this as well. There's this bigger interest in everyone producing battle reports, not only from the people who want to create them, but also the community who want to, like, support battle reports and who want to consume these battle reports. So, can you tell us about starting to create our own battle reports?
Well, kind of like you, I've had a lot of people ask me about starting their own battle reports. So I came up with some ideas, and I wrote them down, and I sent them to some people to look at. And, first thing I want to kind of go over is the type of battle reports that you currently have on YouTube. And as far as I'm concerned, there's three types. You have the first person handheld recorded battle reports, like I do, and that you see Master of the Forest down in Australia do. And that has an advantage of kind of putting you in the game, and also allows you to edit out a lot of the thinking, the hemming and hawing, the slow parts of the battle report. So you get a little bit more compact story element to the battle reports. You have the third person, like tripod mounted camera battle reports, which are great because you get to see an entire game of Legion. It's like you're watching a Legion streamed game from either the Northeast Open, like you ran, or Worlds, or anything like that. But it's a lot longer, and it's not as tight, I would say. And then you have other types of battle reports. It's kind of like the miscellaneous battle reports. So you can do photo bat reps that you upload to YouTube, or you can record the whole thing and speed up and do narration over the top. So a lot of people have tried a lot of different things. It's all about personal taste, but those are the three major types.
Yeah, and I would say that I have done your second two that you mentioned. I haven't done a first-person handheld one, but we've done the third person, and we've done sped up ones where we just record the whole thing and then sped it up to, like, I think we did like half an hour and then just talked over it. And I don't know, the audience kind of likes both. So it's all personal preference to the audience, right? So some people love the third person full 2.5 hour, 3 hour battle report. Some people just want to see a half an hour recap, of how things work. So I really don't think there's a wrong way to go here. I think it's just what you're comfortable with and what you think will be good for your audience.
I totally agree. And there's such huge appetite for content for Star Wars Legion right now as the game grows, that if you're putting any of these types of battle reports out, I think you're going to get seen, and you're going to find an audience for it. So like you say, there's no wrong way to do this at this point.
Yeah. So what do you think are some of the reasons why people produce battle reports, including yourself?
Well, so I'm going to talk about me specifically. And the first thing I want to do is help grow this awesome game, right? I got the game sent to me by Dan Adam from Paint All the Minis. And I hadn't planned on getting it, but as soon as I got it and saw the models and saw the components and played some games at home, I was like, this is phenomenal. More people need to play this game. So that's a big one for me. And then I like to show off my hobby efforts. I am not the best painter or modeler, but I do a pretty good job, and I like to show that off. I like to bring attention to how awesome the models are. And then when I have friends on the channel, like especially Michael, who was the best Star Wars Legion painter I've ever met, give him a showcase and ability to show off his models as well. And then, there are guys who do amazing work on terrain. I'm really anxious to see the Legion Academy guys are going to start producing bat reps, and Sean Morris from that podcast, he's a terrain guy. He runs the terrain studio. So that's all wrapped up in the hobby efforts that you get to show off. And then one of the things I like to do is highlight interesting lists and play styles that you don't see represented elsewhere. The podcast do a great job of focusing on the hyper optimized and elite builds, but sometimes that leaves out things like, in months past, Vader, which I got to put on the channel. Not a lot of people are playing him competitively, but people love to see Vader on the field. So it gives you an opportunity to throw that out there for the community to enjoy. And then when you have a successful YouTube channel, you have a little stronger voice in the Star Wars Legion community. And this is still very much a young community. We love where this community is going and where it's been. And it allows me to have a positive voice and be on things like the Fifth Trooper, which is fun. So the last reason I do it is probably the most important reason to me, and that's because it allows me to combine two of my favorite passions into one. The first one is miniature wargaming, and especially Star Wars Legion. And the second one is telling stories. As you know, my battle reports tend to have a narrative focus to them, and so being able to do both those things is really rewarding for me.
So, what would be a not good reason to get into battle reporting?
As you probably know, money, because you're not
Yeah.
going to make any.
Yeah.
Some people make a living off of YouTube. You're not going to be one of them, probably. I will say that 40K has had some success supporting people doing it as a full-time job, but I don't see a path for Star Wars Legion yet to allow that to happen. We put a lot of time and effort making partner status for YouTube. And, since I've done that, I make tens of dollars a year off my YouTube channel.
Yeah. Well, and I think really if you look at our base right now, I would guess we're probably in like the 15, maybe 14,000 worldwide players, and maybe probably like 11, 10,000 maybe or less are in it to like watch video reports.
Yeah, but I mean, that said, I get so many more views in my Star Wars Legion battle reports than I did for my Warhammer 40K battle reports, and I think that just speaks to the passion of the player base. So you'll definitely have an audience there. It's just the way that YouTube operates with their ads and whatnot that you're not going to make a ton of money off of this. Matter of fact, you're going
Right.
to end up spending some money as you professionalize your battle reports if that's the way you want to go. And the hope is to break even, I think.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I would say that's with a lot of the content creation right now for the game. But, maybe someday, right?
Yeah,
We
maybe
may
someday.
yeah.
And
Um
we spend a lot of money on models and everything else, so
right.
spending money on this other passion is not necessarily a bad thing.
Well, okay, so speaking of spending money, what do you think people need to get started?
So it's easier than you think is what I'll start off with. So you
Okay.
only need a couple of things. You need a camera or a smartphone, and it can either be handheld, like we say, for that first person perspective, or on a tripod for that third person perspective. You need a well lit play area with terrain. Preferably, it's like at the house where it can be somewhat quiet, but people do these in stores as well, and that's just fine.
Mhm.
You need a couple of armies, obviously. Painted armies always look more striking on video. So if you can, you want to make sure that all your minis are painted up. And you're going to need some sort of editing software, and that runs the gamut from iMovie, which is free on Apple products and does everything you need to do in order to put a battle report on YouTube. After I used that for a little bit, my wife got me Videorama, and that runs at $17.99. And so that allows you to do sound effects. It allows you to do text over it, and it also comes with free music that you can use, because that's something that you have to be cognizant of putting things on YouTube. If you use any copyrighted music, they're going to come after you. And then you can even have top of the line editing software like AVS Editor, which runs about $60. And that's what I use right now to adjust the lighting for my videos and put everything together. You're going to need a YouTube account, which is absolutely free to set up. But most importantly, you're going to need some friends. And I was very fortunate in Germany to have 3 great friends appear on the channel with me. But anyone that you recruit to come on the channel has to understand that playing on camera is a different experience, and they must be willing to accept the extra time and effort needed to make a battle report, because really you're explaining to the audience what's going on. And it's as much about making a good presentation that's going to be fun to watch as it is about winning the game.
Mm. Yeah, I would say it's always, give yourself time before, during, and after. Expect the game to be its normal length, 2.5 to 3 hours, and then give yourself probably, what do you think, like another 40 minutes to an hour for like prep and all that stuff for your
So,
friends?
yeah, when you bring your friends over, you can certainly do a lot of the stuff before they get there, and you'll do the editing after they leave, because you want to make the process as fun as possible so they come back for more games. I got my first game scheduled for this Saturday here at the new house, and I told my good friend and opponent, Chris Peterson, that's going to take about 3 hours, I think. And
Mm.
that's going to give us time to set up, talk through, play the game, and then do an end of game wrap up that we like to do at the end of our battle reports.
Yeah. So with that, what do you think most people can expect when they first start doing battle reports?
I think the growth is going to be really slow. Like, my channel got really lucky because I had been producing battle reports for a game called Team Yankee and Warhammer 40K. And so the way the algorithm works on YouTube is I'm promoted more often just because I started out with a nice, healthy subscriber base. But if you're starting brand new, it's going to be slow. It's a growing game, but as you already said, the player base is smaller than some of the more established games. You're going to get positive and negative feedback from the community. It's important to focus on that positive and understand that you're producing this for the fans that have a passion for the game. And then you're going to have to do your best, and this is harder than it sounds, but you're going to have to do your best to compartmentalize and push aside all the negative comments that you're going to get. You're not going to get a ton of negative comments, but man, can they sting sometimes if you let them.
Yeah, and I'll say this from a content producer standpoint. It literally doesn't matter what you do. Like, you could say the most like innocuous, easy thing, and people complain about that. So you just don't read them. Is my best.
See, I'm doing it wrong because I respond to everyone.
No, don't do that. That's crazy. But I mean, you could read them, and if they're constructive, definitely take it in. If someone's like, "Oh, hey, have you thought about this camera angle?" or "Hey, I couldn't see X, Y, or Z on that," on your last battle report. But if it's just like, "Hey, this is stupid. You guys should stop," like, clearly don't pay attention to those ones.
Yeah, so I got a little upset when someone called me a cheater. That's like that's a really
Yeah.
bad word in my house. I got 3 kids and we'd play games. If somebody threw out the cheater accusation, you better have some hard proof to back that up. And believe
Yeah.
me, I'm not playing Star Wars Legion on my YouTube channel so I can look like a great Legion player. That's not going to happen. I'm not one of those guys. So having come from a profession where 200 years ago we would have challenged that person to a duel to the death, and we're not that far removed from that.
Yeah.
That one really hurt, and I had to talk to some people to calm me down on that, and I still made a probably inappropriate comment on the next video calling them out. But when you get stuff like that, you just have to understand that some people are just going to do it. Like you say, Jay, you can do everything right, and some people
Yeah.
are going to give you a thumbs down. Like, before they even watch the video, you might have a thumbs down on your battle report. Like, you post it, and 1 minute later, there's a thumbs down.
Already, yeah, I know. And I would say too, like, I would caution everyone out there, even the guys like the scoundrels, like, we all we can't memorize every rule set out there. There's things that you or I or even some of the scoundrels may play against that they haven't played against before, and we go, wait, what does that do again? And so we're not going to get everything 100% right. And in that vein, I would say it's not cheating. It's just we're figuring it out still. We may forget stuff, like we may miss, something, but we're not doing it on purpose. We're still working on the game along with you.
And those are some of my favorite comments, to be honest. When we do something wrong on the channel and somebody lets us know that we did it wrong, we learn from that. Everyone who watches the video and reads the comments learns from that. And then as a community, we're so much better after that mistake is identified, that I love those comments. And I definitely encourage those comments. It's when, people are trolling just to troll that you just got to be on guard for, and not let yourself get discouraged by those people. Have a thick skin.
Right. Yeah. And that's the toughest part, right? So, yeah, so that's good. And okay, so what are some final tips that you could give anyone out there who's listening that's thinking about starting some battle reports?
If you're thinking about starting battle reports, I would say get started now. Much like much like painting, thinking about making battle reports is only going to take you so far, right? You need to get on a camera, get a friend over, and then start learning through experience. And there's nothing wrong with the learn as you go approach. You're going to have technical difficulties, but you're going to smooth those technical difficulties out as your process becomes more established. And everyone's going to grant you a learning curve, right? We're continuing to improve the process that we use in order to make our battle reports, to make them better. And it's a process, is like what I'm trying to say. But get started now.
Yeah, and I would say just to, if I may,
Yeah.
tag on to this. When I first started the podcast and we started doing some of the video streaming and stuff, like I was a stickler for any kind of mistakes, or like I wanted everything to be perfect, and I would like lose my mind if something bad happened. But as we've been doing this, I've realized that your audience base is very forgiving. And like, especially if you're doing like live stream of battle reports or even the recorded battle reports, like people reach out and be like, hey, like at the 1 minute mark, there's this weird audio blip. It's not a big deal, but just wanted you to know. And people have been very kind in that regard. So it's not that they're judging you or will stop watching your channel. They actually are pretty open and understanding that, technology is technology, right? We're just doing this on our own.
Absolutely. And like you say, you're going to make mistakes, but those mistakes are going to make you better. So don't wait till you have the perfect set of circumstances to start recording battle reports. You don't need the perfect lighting. You don't need 5 microphones, set up around the room. You need a camera, you need some editing software, and you need a YouTube account.
Yep.
So get started. And then once you get started, I'd say don't be afraid to market your videos on social media. The Facebook group is really great. We have Reddit and Discord, all great places to share your work. There are people who want to see these battle reports. They just might not know where to find them. So make sure that you're going forward and marketing yourself.
Yeah, and just as a further comment on that, just there are appropriate places, especially like Discord and stuff, right? They'll have areas for that stuff to go.
Yep.
So just make sure you post in that appropriate place, and everybody, it'll all be good.
Absolutely. And then last thing I'm going to leave you with is maintain a positive attitude. You're going to face setbacks as you're doing this, but if you're passionate about what you're doing and you have a vision of what you're trying to achieve, nothing can stop you as long as you stick with it.
I like that. Yeah, that's hard to maintain sometimes.
It is, but at least for me, it's the community that keeps me going.
Yeah, well, and I think too. I mean, we do a weekly podcast, and we have our ups and downs. Some weeks, like last week, we had a little bit of a down podcast, and it's okay. But just kind of, don't let it carry over and keep going. If you have maybe one bat report where you're a little down and you're trying, but it's like you're just struggling that day. It's okay. Just let it out and then move on too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yep. And it's hard to come back after a week where you play a quiz show with Alex Davey and Luke
Yes.
Eddy,
Right? How are we ever going to live up to that?
That was phenomenal. It had me rolling in the car.
Oh, well, thank you. Appreciate that. All right. Well, so that if anyone out there wants to start doing your own battle reports, there's some great tips and tricks. And also, War Corgi is on Facebook and is very often posting in all of those social media that he mentioned, and just reach out to him.
Yep.
Just ask questions. Like, we're all there for, no one is going to scrutinize you for just simple questions.
Absolutely. I love interacting with people, and this has been an awesome hobby to get to know people that I would not have otherwise come in contact with. So reach out. I'd love to talk to you about it.
All right. Well, thanks so much, man. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, one last thing. Since I am home in St. Louis, Missouri, there is a major tournament coming up here called Warfare Weekend.
Yeah.
So it's Veterans Day weekend. I'm going to make it. I have heard LJ Pena is going to make it as well. It's being run. Who's the guy who's running it?
Chris
Road Dog, right?
I think he might be T.O.N., but the guy, his name, hold on, I can tell you in 1 sec. Chris Johnson.
Okay, Chris Johnson
is running Warfare Weekend. Yep.
And then Brendan Franz is going to be no longer, not the High Marshal, but whatever he goes by these days.
Right, we're not allowed to call him that anymore.
Yeah.
But listen, he's not on, and FFG doesn't own this podcast, so he's the High Marshal.
I was going to go with Supreme Allied Legion Commander, but High Marshal
that's good.
as well. So it looks like it's going to be a really great time. St. Louis, Missouri is a great place to visit. Just make sure you watch what neighborhoods you go into. And then it's going to be another phenomenal weekend of Legion with all kinds of points changes going on and the meta changing. It's going to be the wild, wild west. I'm really anxious to see what comes out of it. And I'm really anxious to start meeting some new people that I've only talked to on the internet. And lastly, I'm really anxious to see if I'm actually any good at this game.
Well, it'll be interesting too, because isn't that's the first major tournament that Clone Wars will be? I think that's 12. It's definitely 12 days.
Yep.
If Clone Wars comes out on the 19th, it'll definitely be 12 days. So that'll give you plenty of time if you want to play clones at Warfare Weekend, and it'll be interesting to see what people. I mean, listen, our choices are limited, but it'll see interesting to see how people fare with what we have.
Yeah, I think word has it that Brendan Franz is a big supporter of the robots. And so if you bring those, maybe you'll have a little jet shopping.
Yeah, there you go.
If I lose, that's what I'm going with.
Perfect. I love it. All right, man. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, really appreciate you having me on. And hopefully I'll be able to talk to you again soon.
Yeah, so that was War Corgi. I love him. He's the best.
He's a pretty cool dude.
I can't wait to see his bat reps. He does good ones, and he's back in the States now, which is cool. So we may get to see him at some of these events, which I'm really excited about. But yeah, so that's good. And you know what, Evan? I'd like to close this on a high note.
What are they talking about?
What's been going on with you? What's been going on in your life, buddy? Tell me everything.
Oh, well, you said you wanted to end it on a high note, right?
All right, let's not talk about your life then.
Yeah. You know, we're prepping for I've got a X-Wing regional or whatever the hyperspace trial, the last one before they call them primes. That's out in Just Games. And then after that, I think it's Hooded Goblin, and then it's maybe PAX. It depends on what's going on with that.
Kappa Cup.
Oh, Kappa as well. Yep, Kappa as well. I keep forgetting. It's
too.
on my calendar. I gotta just get the hotel booked at this point because we're getting dangerously close to finding not a place not there, right?
Yeah.
But no. Then after that, like all the new primes were announced, so that's a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, other than that, man, it's been just work and some other stuff. Nothing crazy.
What's that video game you've been playing?
Hunt. I'm still playing that. It's they just finally released it out of our early access. Hunt Showdown's still a blast. I'm a little disappointed that there's monetization in it. It's not too bad. You gotta dig for what it actually gets you though, so that's all right. But it does some weird stuff. So it's like you get it. You earn their monetization money when you play. If you do well, you get like 2 or 3 of these blood dollars, where they're called. Mm-hmm. Each blood dollar is about a penny. So like if you spend $3, you get 300 blood dollars. That's how it kind of like works.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so you get a small amount, and honestly, you can earn. It's like a Call of Duty kind of thing where you earn enough, then you prestige, and you go back to start again. But they do little things that are like somewhat insidious. Like all the skins and everything you get are just skins. I don't always love that, but you actually have to kind of look for them. They don't throw them in your face, which I like. But they do stuff like two blood dollars to clean your gun. Cleaning your gun does nothing else but just make it look clean.
Oh, gross.
And then everything
I hate that game already.
So it's just a dirty gun. Like it doesn't really matter. It doesn't affect it, everything.
Right.
But so I found that, but it's like 2 cents, right? And you get it for just winning a match. So you get like 5 blood dollars for winning a match. So honestly, it's not, I don't like microtransactions because I already bought the game kind of deal, but they're fine. Like it's just me griping. But I've been actually playing through Gears of War 4. With a buddy, my buddy Connor. That's been a lot of fun. I'm kind of sad I slept on that a little bit. Yeah. And then Gears 5's out, so I'm kind of super excited to get done playing 4 to go into 5.
Yeah, that's cool. I played the 2nd or 3rd Gears. I'm not a fan of the over-the-shoulder. I don't know. I mentally can't handle it.
Gears is a weird franchise for me because I bought them all because they're the Xbox besides Halo.
Right.
Halo, Forza, and I don't know. Binks the Minesweeper. They were like an Xbox franchise. But I didn't care about Gears. I forget what movie I was going to see. But I was in the theater, and in the trailers, they played a commercial for the game. They played the first Gears trailer where it's Marcus. He jumps in that building, and they play Mad World, and he turns around, and all the corpsers come out, and he starts firing, and then it like zooms in on his face. I'm like, what is this game? I need to like know what this is. Looks awesome, right? And then turns out Gears ended up being a pretty cool game. So, and it's honestly to this point, I was playing 4. I played through all of them. Like, man, it's still good. Like, it's still fine. Like, I'm really not. They introduce some new stuff once in a while, but like, it's still good stuff, man. Like, I can't really complain.
Yeah, let's see. I don't know. I haven't gotten into much new. Still playing No Man's Sky on and off. That's good. And I'm looking at getting back into this game I used to play. I think I brought it up on the other podcast, but Project Zomboid, which is basically like, it looks like Paperboy.
Yeah.
Remember that old paper, like the 8-bit,
Sure.
like isometric side-scrolling type thing, and you're just trying to survive the zombie apocalypse, but like, like when you die, like that's it.
Yeah.
But you can like learn traits and build walls and like, I don't know, man. I remember playing it before, and it's like, for me, it kind of like felt like a true survival, like zombie survival game where I felt. It had all the good pieces of, okay, you got the shooter, like you gotta be quiet. You have, and like if you haven't been somewhere, it does that like the black cloud, where you don't know what's coming up.
Yeah,
you know?
like a fog of war.
Yeah, and so it's a cool game. I really like it. You have to get like generators to power stuff up. Like I haven't played in a while. I know they added like vehicles and. They've been adding tons of stuff, so and it's multiplayer, so you could get it on Steam or whatever, and we could try it out.
Sure.
But yeah, I've been looking at that. Like I said, I played TTS today, but I don't know, man. Just kind of.
I'm in like a weird malaise. Like I'm just kind of in a
Yeah.
holding pattern for the new stuff to come out.
Yeah.
They said October 18th, which is cool that we have like a date that they're
Yeah,
standing
it sounded
by.
good. Yeah.
But so one quick story from Hunt that I thought was pretty funny.
Okay.
So I was with my buddy Connor. Connor was off on the other side of the map, the other side of this building. We're kind of searching, and I see an enemy hunter. And then I'm like, we're having this firefight, and then I have a rifle. It's got like a pin fed thing. So I shoot and I click, I miss, and then he gets hit and goes down. And I'm like, oh, we were kind of out in the open. I'm like, oh, maybe the game just messed up and the bullet did something, right? So I'm like, whatever. So I reload, loot the dude, keep going. I get another gunfight, and then right back, the guy goes down. And I had another like weird time where like I shot and I missed. I thought I missed, but looks like he gets hit. I'm like, oh man, the game's really lagging. So I'm running. Connor's way ahead of me. He's going through the next thing. We're going to fight the butcher, whatever the boss was at the time. And like I stop and turn around just out of like curiosity. I don't know why. And then there's a dude with a silenced rifle after me. He had been shooting at me, but he kept missing and hitting these other guys. So this whole time, I turn around to shotgun him, get him, and I'm like, "Yo, what do?" Like there's no. You can turn on talking, but from your Xbox chat, you can't. So I'm like, dude, what were you doing, right? So I picked up this like great rifle that he had. So I was thinking back about all the times like we were both like doing the strafe back and forth because it's Wild West guns. You get like bang, click, bang, right?
Yeah.
So he'd been shooting at me, I think. Because it kept whizzing by me. Otherwise, it wouldn't make sense because my back's to him the whole time. Why not just gun me down?
Maybe he was just
A silent angel?
Yeah, like a.
And then I just turned around and put a shotgun shell in him. Yeah.
And then the moment you saw him, you're like, I hated beautiful things, and you shot him.
I remember like we get all kinds of wacky stories when we play that game because some crazy stuff can happen. But that one particularly stood out to me as real good. Or when sometimes you'll throw an explosive and it bounces weird. So Connor was on the ground, and if you're on the ground, you can revive him. But if you don't want the guy to revive you, burn the body. So you throw like a flask or something, and they don't like, it's not graphic. They just burn. Then that means it can't get picked up. So Connor went down. He's like, there he is. And so I'm like, huh? I get this Molotov and I throw it. Like a zombie walks by the window, and then it hits him and then bounces onto Connor. And so Connor's screaming. Then I'm like, oh no. Then the zombie lights on fire. Then he's screaming. And then the guy on the ground looks up and just shoots me and kills me because he heard like all this screaming going on. For those who don't know, it's a game set after like the Wild West Civil War kind of. I know those are two different time periods, but that kind of like
No,
right,
not really. It's similar. Yeah.
like it's right after like the Civil War. You're bounty hunters looking for demons in Louisiana, and it's every man for himself kind of thing. If you go into teams, you're just fighting anybody to go kill the demon and get out. So it's really tense moments, but sometimes just goofy, dumb crap happens, and it makes it fun. Or it's super frustrating where they have an issue right now on the Xbox, or even the PC, I believe, but it's like way too dark at night. They know it's an issue because I'm in the Discord. I'm like, hey man, like I just can't see. it gets to the point where I can't see like anything. So Connor's my eyes. So we're running, and I'm like, okay, we gotta get out of here. And so we just ran to another group, and they murdered us. But like, I lost like so much good stuff because you spawn and we see night, and we're like, okay, we'll just extract and get out of here and not play, right?
Yeah.
And then so those are the frustrating times where it's like we didn't have an option to opt out of night because it's random. But another time you get these really good, like funny, like cool moments, or like you do this, like we gunned down 8 guys when they were coming at we killed the boss, and after you kill the boss, it shows up on the map where it is, and so everyone could come and try to get you and steal the boss kill. So we knew it was coming because we haven't heard gunshots in a while. So we set all these, we did like a Macaulay Culkin like house of traps. There's like these bear traps everywhere. And so we put them up near the doors. Connor's put them all up, and like you'd hear a door open, and we both turn around with shotguns, and you hear clang clang, and the guy just auto dies, and he falls in. Yeah. And then like we move up and close the door, reset the traps to the next guy. Like it's got some funny stuff. Like it's a fun game. It has like highs and lows. Like remember how we talked about Ark a while ago, where like you can get some wicked like mental highs where you're like, oh man, we got this base going. I just got a machine gun. We got this great fort. But then you get those wicked lows when like you lose your body out in the ocean and a megalodon gets you, and then it's gone. There's no getting anything back. So you just made scuba gear, which took a ton of materials.
Well, and it's funny, and I'll tell it. So when Sea of Thieves came out, I actually one of the kids and I got on the beta, like way back. And what you did was if you bought the game early, like it was like months early, 2-3 months early, you got beta access. And so you could play, and you got a bunch of gear. They don't have any microtransactions, but you just got a bunch of gear that was unique to the beta game, right? And so I'd been playing for a while, and I forgot who I was with. Maybe it was Nick, who used to be on the podcast, but like we were playing. This is the most fun I've ever had on that game. We were playing, and it was when they started putting the thrones out, where you had to go sit in them with other crews, and like you would get a sign off and a badge for it. So we started teaming up with other crews. We ended up with like 4 crews, and this was before you could do alliances and all that stuff, right? And it was just insanity, right? Like everybody's going crazy. We're all laughing, having a good time. And what had happened was me and this other guy, like it wasn't even Nick, it was just this other guy. We decided to steal someone else's boat. And we just went adventuring, right? And, for those of you that play, we were near Snake Island, and we were like, the boat, like they signed off, and so their boat goes under, like when they, their boat just dies once they leave. And so we're in the middle of this storm, in the middle of the ocean, and we're like swimming, and we don't know each other's real names. So like my handle is Dr. Brainbot on Xbox. You guys can look me up if you want to play sometime. I'm not on very often anymore, but like, and so like we were on there, and like he kept yelling at me. He's like, "Oh, Dr. Brainbot, come on, we can make it." And then I forgot his name was, I think it was like Beard Wizard or something. Like, don't leave me. And we're like swimming, and we get to this island, and like, for those of you who don't play, like these islands have like, I think it was for future storytelling that they're starting to get to now, but they would have like fires and like stuff already lit, like a campfire. So we're on this island, we get in this cave, the storm's just raging, and we're sitting by this fire just like telling pirate stories that we're making up on the spot. And then and all of a sudden we heard like a girl's voice, and we were like, what was that? And I go, did you hear that? He goes, I did, Dr. Brainbot, I did. And I go, what is going on? And like, we're trying to figure out what's happening, and I'm like, it's a siren. Don't go to the water, like And then this like girl pirate shows up, and this other girl pirate. We've been playing this game for a long time. Yeah, I've literally never run into a girl on this game, like a woman playing the game, not a guy like playing a woman character, but actually women playing the game. Sure, and they're like, hey, what are you guys doing here? And we're like, we've been like, we literally were on this island in game, like in real time for 40 minutes.
Oh my God.
Like trying to get our other crews to come get us, but they're like, oh, we can't. We're like in this battle right now. And like, so this random other ship shows up. We convince these women that they should take us to port. And they're like, we don't know, like, because it's Sea of Thieves, right? So you're like, oh, they're going to pirate me. And so we're like, no, we swear we won't. So then this guy starts hitting on him. He's like, "Hey, what's a girl like you doing on an island like this?" And like we're just messing with him. And we get on their boat. They had a guy for the captain. He's like, "I don't know, this doesn't seem right."
Yeah.
And then the guy I'm with, he's like, "You're just jealous because now the men, now there's too many men for these women on this boat." And, like, it just got so crazy, and like everyone was kind of role playing.
Yeah.
And then we were on their boat, and they're like, "All right, we're going to port. Just don't steal our stuff." And we're like, "We won't." And we're like, "Actually, we'll help you." And so we carried all their stuff like in front of the different places, because this was before you could form alliances and everybody got the money. And we just set them there. We go, "Okay, go ahead, turn it in." So they're like, "Oh, thank you. Like, do you want to come with us?" We're like, "Okay." And so we went with them for like 45 minutes. Then his crew showed up. So we hopped on their boat and then sunk their boat. And they're just screaming, "Why? We had so much fun." And we're like, "Sea of Thieves." And then like rode off into the sun. Oh my God, it was amazing.
That's awesome.
And then, the problem happened was that I was pirating with them. Like, this was like a Saturday. I had nothing going on. So I literally just played this game. It's the longest I've ever played a video game since I was a kid. And, like, I just played this game all day. And then I went off with them for a while. But then what happens is my crew had left already because I clearly wasn't paying any attention to them. And so, like, if you die, you don't get back on that boat because you were part... Right.
Your boat,
so, like... I ended up dying and spawning on an island, and then I couldn't get back to them, and like I was trying to send them friend requests, and like it was just crazy. But that's how it happened. But it was like, honestly, it was the most fun I've ever had in a multiplayer game in my whole life. Like, it was just like, because it was right around that time Sea of Thieves was it was very piratey and like.
It was make your own fun.
Right. And before the Thrones, like everyone, it was all cutthroat. So it's like, there's a sloop. I'm going to sink it so I can get their gold. And this was the first time it became co-op.
Yeah.
And so like, I think everybody was just kind of like yearning for that, and like, and so like, it was just, I don't know. I haven't been able to replicate that fun, but that day was like the best day of video game, online multiplayer video game I've ever had in my life. And just like fun and like random and like, man, I loved it. And so like I always think back to that, especially when like we're talking games and stuff. I'm like, oh man, I wish I could get back to that.
No, I've had some really good times, really bad times with Sea of Thieves. Like I've done an 8 men on a galleon, right, where we just would go by and we'd we'd see a boat, like a dock, like they're on the island, and we go, "You got 10 seconds to give us your gold and, prepare for inspection of your boat." And then we'd send a couple guys over, and then people were like, "What's up? What's going on, officer? I don't know why we pulled over." We're like, "Well, we're going to check your goods here, see if you got papers for all these goods." And we go down and be like, "You got a lot of skulls down here, sir. You want to explain how you have those in your boat?" And then, they would, some people would get it, and we'd let them go. If someone was just being a real, like,
tool about it.
we'd go like, "Okay." And then if you ever... on a galleon, it's only meant for 4. Having 8 just makes it not fair. So it was like 3 guns shooting like continuously until the boat went down, and then we'd scoop up the stuff and leave. Go to the next guy, be like, "Hey, get ready to board for inspection. This is your tariff officer for the area." Like, I've had some good times. I've had some bad times where I just can't get a boat out of harbor before I get iced, or I get somewhere, I get killed. It's really like it's a fun game, but just play with friends. That's my like.
Yeah, and I think the thing is too, like, understanding, like, being receptive. I think this is in life, right? Like, being receptive to people when they're being friendly, and just, instead of getting, like, locked in your own world or your own game, like, see where it's going and just try to follow it down the path. Like, sometimes you get bitten, but sometimes you have a day like I had. I had a beautiful day in Pirate
I've definitely
World.
had great days, and I've definitely had bad days.
Oh, yeah.
So but when things go well, like Sea of Thieves is a blast.
Yeah.
But when things go bad, you're like, "What am I doing?"
Right. Like when you're on your like 4th treasure haul, and the first 3 have all been sunken by like a kraken or another ship, and you're just like, "Dude, I can't do this all night." Like,
yeah, I've had times where I see another boat come on. If we weren't getting able to just log off, they can just have it. Like, let the boat sink, like scuttle the ship.
But. All right, everybody. Well, that was another episode of the 5th Trooper Podcast, episode 59 to be exact. Thanks for listening, and join us next week.
Remember, raid Shadow Legends. Everyone, stay rad. Have a good night.
Join us next week for another edition of the 5th Trooper Podcast.
This has been a Fifth Trooper production.